All right, welcome back. Hopefully you watched the video on Boeing. I hope it was I know it's a little bit older, but I hope it was gave an example of as we talk about traditional goal setting, how it's not necessarily the best approach. Okay, so in traditional goal setting, this is where the top managers in the company place the goals for the organization. Okay. They set the goals in which top managers that flows down through the organization, and the lower level managers become sub goals for each organizational area. Okay. So we see here in our example the top management's objectives. So we think about Boeing. Okay. They want to increase the production of their planes. Okay. But they did not get input from the lower level managers or the lower level employees to say if this was really attainable. And so what happened is everyone started to work towards those numbers and things got missed. Things weren't put together properly. People died. Okay. A lot of people died because their objectives were unrealistic. Okay. Because everyone just started working fast because they had to reach those goals. Okay. I will say, when if we're talking about graduation, when I was in college a long time ago, my dad wanted me to graduate in 4 years, and I kind of screwed up a little bit. And I remember telling my dad, "Well, you want me to graduate in a year, but I have to take 48 hours in order to do that." And he said, "Figure it out." And so if we look at all my different departments, a lot of them really struggled a lot. I was able to graduate and do 48 hours in a year, but when you look at my financial department, it was a disaster. My marketing was an absolute mess. My culture worked overtime because I was always in class. And my operations department definitely wasn't functioning properly because all I was really doing is working towards graduating. Because that wasn't a goal that I set for myself. That was something that my dad set for me. So, a better approach that we've found, and I will tell you just from managing myself, I find this to be a much better form of goal setting, is the management by objectives. Okay, so this is a process where basically you sit down for your review with your boss, and you guys come up with the goals yourself. So it's mutually decided upon. So your boss, let's say you work in marketing, and your boss might say, I want to let's talk about the goals that we want to have. What are your interests? What do you want to work towards? And so maybe you tell them, I want to work towards social media, or I want to work towards um, maybe doing some more advertising or something like that. And you come together on the goals that you want to achieve. So they're not assigning you goals that aren't of interest to you. They're assigning you goals that you basically want to do. It's kind of like when you go to the academic advisor, and you've got to take electives, right? You've got to hit these things to graduate, right? There's certain things that you have to take, but then they say, what interests you? What is something that you would like to do and be motivated to do? And so we're a lot more successful when we make those goals together. So the steps, basically you're going to sit down and you're going to look at the organization's overall objectives and see where you can fit in there. Okay. The major objectives are allocated among divisional and department units. Okay. So those goals are given to like your department heads, and then they're going to sit down with you and they're going to talk to you about those things. And you guys are going to, again, come up with those goals together. And that way, in that MBO, when you sit down with those plans, that helps that manager manage you a little bit better. So we sit down and we determine, let's say we're the financial department. Okay. So as the manager, I can come to you every single month and say, tell me what the progress was on your scholarship application. Okay. What did we learn from the last one? Do we need to adjust our goals? Do we need to apply for two a month? Is this something that's realistic? I can follow up and I can ask, how's it been going with you following up on your bank statements? Have you found any discrepancies? Okay, so it's a tool that managers can use, go back to those goals, and manage our employees from them. All right, so when we develop plans, there are some contingency factors in planning. Um, depending on what organizational level you're at. Okay. So, most of the time at our lower levels, our degree of environmental uncertainty is pretty low. We know what's going to happen, but at higher levels, our plans have to be more directional. And because things are very uncertain, we have to be flexible with our plans. But we want to start out with them being specific, but have to understand that they're going to be flexible. Our plan should extend far enough to meet those commitments where the commitments made when the plan was developed. Okay, so if we have a 3-year goal, the plans that we put in place have to cover 3 years. Okay, we can't stop after 2 years and hope we get to our goal. If it's a 3-year plan, we have to have 3 years worth of action plans. All right, developing plans in a dynamic environment. Okay, let's think about developing plans in COVID. Okay, organizations still had to develop plans, but they were always changing. They were always very flexible. They were always revisiting them to see if they needed to be adjusted. Okay, even when the environment is uncertain, it's very important that we keep planning. Okay, as far as graduation goes, when COVID hit, it was important that people kept going, even if it was just to change their plan to, at this point, I'm not going to go to school because it's not the right choice for me, but there's still a long-term plan set in place. And then in our dynamic environments, also be flexible to allow lower organization levels to set goals and develop plans, because those are the people that are on the front lines that are really working those plans. All right, that's the end of chapter 8. Please let me know if you have any questions, and we will see you next week.